Welcome to Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo, brought to you by Holy Chuck Burgers. Our business is burgers.
Good morning, Katarina Witt. There's no such thing as bad boys, only boys with bad hair.
Sponsored by Maxwell's Clothiers, your bespoke tailor since 1961. And now, your host of Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo, Chuck Bastie. Welcome back, everyone. This is Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo. It's been a while, but I'm Cam LaRock, your producer, and of course, I'm with Chuck Bastie, the host. Chuck, how's it going? What's new?
We're going to take a little trip down memory lane today, Cameron, because I've got my childhood junior team that I grew up aspiring to be one of the big boys, the Beausejour Comets. On the podcast today, we've got Troy Kennedy and Kurt Ramsden to join us on the podcast today. But this is really special for me because, like I said, you know, when you're a 7-year-old, you're an 8-year-old, you're a 10-year-old, the guys you look up to the most are the junior C, the junior B, junior A guys that you have in your community. And the Beausejour Comets just got their franchise back after many years. This is season number 2. And this year here, they went all the way to the finals and they lost in 6 games, but what a hell of a season, a hell of a run they had. We're really excited to just talk about some hockey and go back to my roots in Beausejour, Manitoba. And and really talk about a great community and a small town, support system as well that comes out in spades when they got the junior hockey back. And again, I always come back to, community is one of the themes we have on the show. Simply because hockey is the vehicle that we all use to connect in this situation. And really happy to have these guys on the show today.
Yeah, Chuck, I kind of feel like the odd man out here being the only one that's not from Manitoba. But I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot today. And I totally get what you're saying with your hometown junior C team. Like, I'm kind of dealing with the idea of I'm too old to play junior hockey now. Like, all those guys are younger than me, and like I didn't play, but I'm in my 21 years, so can't play junior. And all those guys I looked up to, they're now younger than me, so something different. But I'm still out on Friday night supporting the boys in here in Dresden.
Yeah. Like, I know that my junior C hockey circuit here in Ontario and the CRJHL has been a wonderful experience for us. We're going to go into Manitoba, go on the junior B circuit as well. And just before we go, before we bring Troy on, I thought we'd show a couple of pictures of my hometown that I grew up with from grade 3. I think I left in about grade 7 before I moved to Ontario. My dad was in the forces. We got posted. And there's the grain elevator in our small town. Population 2,500, which I don't think has changed much from when I left. And if you can believe it, I was actually able to get in these jerseys as a kid. Those are my home and away jerseys there. And I actually had body armor because obviously I'm a goalie underneath that. And I don't know, I can't even put that jersey on right now because it would suffocate me. But then we have the junior B Comets back in my day. These are the guys here. There's Rob Kanaski wearing the C up front. A bunch of the guys I grew up as well. Greg Stelmack, Pudgy gave me this picture as well, so I wanted to use it on the show. But Danny Hodson, Corey Bush, Stelmack, all these guys, I can go down the list of names of guys I grew up with as well. Last time they won that, I think it was in '89 is when they won that championship as well. So thought we'd set the tone with the previous comments as well, and then bridge that into our next guest, which is Troy Kennedy, who is the coach and of my beloved Beausejour Comets, and let's bring him up.
Yeah, I'm excited, Chuck, and I know you are too. So let's get right to it.
And there he is, Troy Kennedy. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Great to be here. Happy to be on.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank you for
old school jerseys.
Those were old school jerseys, and I was telling my producer that the white jersey was actually I had to go into the city and actually get a Boston Bruins jersey that had nothing. My mother worked in town in Beausejour at this place called Samples and Subs, and she made that jersey for me, and I was the only kid to have my name with my custom number 35 because I'm a Tony Esposito fan on the back of my jersey. So it looked like a pro, play like a pro, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, listen, I want to thank you for coming on the show. More importantly, I want to thank you for taking the head coaching job for the Beausejour Comets as well, because obviously you coming from junior hockey, obviously having your family background as well, coming into Beausejour. It's really kind of funny how you and I actually connected, because I was on the set of Battle of the Blades with your brother Sheldon Kennedy, who obviously everybody would know in Canada. But Sheldon won season 5 with Caitlin Weaver. $100,000 they donated to the Jumpstart charities as well, Canadian Tire Jumpstart. And I was talking to Sheldon, and we were doing 3 or 4 interviews, promoting him and Caitlin. And I told him, hey, listen, like, I know you're from Manitoba, but I grew up in Manitoba as well. And he just said, where are you from? I said, this little pissant town that no one's ever heard of before. And he's like, well, try me. And I just said, like, Beausejour, Manitoba. And he just looks at me as if I had 3 heads. And he goes, my brother Troy lives in Beausejour. I'm like, you're making shit up. Come on, this is not even true. And sure enough, you live in Beausejour now with your wife Jody as well, and your 3 kids. But that was such a small world for me as well. So I figured, like, if that was the case, I'd reach out. And to my friend Todd Krebs as well, who's been, a best friend of mine since grade 3. Really small world. I call this 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Yeah. So anyway, so we'd start off with the show, talk a little bit about your journey as well, Troy, and how you got here, and your junior hockey experience as well. I just thought I'd just give you the floor.
Okay, yeah. We grew up a hockey family and a figure skating family. My sister was a big figure skater, so we grew up on a dairy farm in Elkhorn, Manitoba, which is the last town before you get to Saskatchewan. And same thing, we had 500 people in our town, and so you could go out and practice you go out at 5 o'clock and stay on the ice till 8 o'clock and practice with 3 different teams. And hockey was the life back then, right? And the senior hockey team was the team that you wanted to aspire to be a part of, and didn't really have any idea about junior hockey or anything until you got to be about 13 or something, because all we had back then was newspapers and two channels on TV. So there wasn't a whole lot of exposure to anything else. So you learn as you go, and we always wanted to be somewhere playing hockey. And my mom was a big pusher for us to be a sports, and she always told us, if we sign you up to something, you're not quitting. You're going to stick it out till the end, whether you like it or whether you don't like it, right? So we got into as much stuff as we could get into, and it turned out to be ice for all 3 of us, and we all made our living on the ice. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know you actually got to play for one of my favorite teams, the Brandon Wheat Kings. Obviously, growing up in Manitoba, like the Wheat Kings are king. No pun intended. There's a good-looking kid. Look at this guy here. Who is that guy?
That's a good-looking guy right there. I actually have a hockey card on my kitchen table with that picture right now.
Right. Like, and who is that guy? Like, introduce us.
That is myself. Yeah, that would be when I was. That would be my draft year, I believe.
Yeah, and I got this off a great article they wrote about you and Brandon as well.
Where'd you get that one from? That's my wife.
And I was just not going to make fun of her 1980s hair, Troy, but I thought you could if you wanted to, because she's your wife.
She still has the same hair. It's coming back. So that's the guy on the back there. That's Terry Yake. He played with Hartford Whalers and Anaheim Ducks for quite a while.
And Jody was actually really instrumental as well in sending us a bunch of great action shots of you as well. I think we have the next one ready to queue up as well for you. What the hell, Cameron? What's going on here?
That's a funny story. That's in Moose Jaw. And we were actually in school. And the teacher said to one of the girls wore a skirt one day, or a dress, and he said, "What do you prefer wearing, like a skirt or a dress, or a skirt or slacks?" And she was kind of all flustered, and I just kind of stiffly said, dress. Well, I bet you would never wear a dress. I said, how much? He goes, well, I got a toonie. Anybody else got a toonie? So all the rest of the class gave a toonie. So there's like 30 in that class, and I went to the next class and did the same thing. So I had like $60 coming. So I went home, and my bill had helped me dress up in her dress.
Obviously, she was a very well-kept woman, because that's a spectacular dress there, TK.
It is. It looks good, eh?
It really amplifies
the buttons on the side. It's a tearaway.
Oh wow, tearaway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I I got to be honest. I actually got this picture from Jody as well, so I figured we'd have a little bit of fun on the show today. But she said it wouldn't phase you at all, which obviously she was right. So
It would never fit me now. No.
no, phase you.
Oh, phase me? No, it would never phase me. No.
Yeah, as well. So
No, I've been embarrassed many times.
yeah, and that's the good thing about hockey. We can always keep it nice and light with the guys. In the dressing room, you play the sport, you understand. You got to give some, you got to take some as well.
Yeah.
So
Probably my biggest one. We're down in the WPHL. I was playing in Central Texas. First time they've had hockey down there. It's just north of Austin, and so we were going out to open the season up, and there was in a big cow barn, right? 8,000 people in there, and they never knew anything about hockey, so they put the carpet out, and they ran the carpet from the back behind the net all the way up to the box, but it was white carpet, so you couldn't see it. So I was like the second guy on the ice, when you're fired up because it's packed house. So I jumped on the ice. So I took about 4 or 5 strides and I hit that white carpet and I slid into the net that was on the side on the boards on the side. And I was kind of upside down with my skate stuck in the net. And I sat there for the whole warm up, the whole time the guys were skating around until they turned the lights on. I was stuck in the net.
that's nice.
Yeah. So it's kind of a learning experience for them. It was like, yeah, you guys got to put red carpet so we can see it.
Or at least like tell me that this is my rookie.
Tell me it's there or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, listen, we wanted to welcome you to the show as well. We also want to bring on Curtis as well, Ramsden, the general manager for the Comets. Bring him up as well right now, Cameron. Let's introduce Kurt. Kurt, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show. I thought we just started a little bit with Troy as well, but I thought we'd give you a chance just to talk about your journey with the Comets and how you got there and landed in Beausejour, and give you the floor.
Yeah, really, I guess how I ended up in Beausejour was probably Jerry Liskey, Lonnie Liskey. His dad, I was roommates with Lonnie in Dauphin when we were playing Junior A for the Dauphin Kings. And we just hit it off. We in sports, you get relationships, you build relationships, and then you consider each other family. And Lonnie and I always called ourselves brothers. And Lonnie was a year older, so I still had another year left junior, and he kind of moved home back to Winnipeg and started going to school. And then when I finished up my 20-year-old year, I was out in Alberta, and I knew I was coming home at Christmas time, and his dad, Jerry, was coaching the senior hockey team in Beausejour, and he called me up and said, "Rammer, get to Beausejour before January 10th. I got to sign you a card here." And so I did just that because I wasn't going to disobey Jerry, and ended up playing senior hockey for the Beausejour Stars, and of course met all the rest of the Beausejour crew there, and just ended up staying. Married a local girl, and since lived in Beausejour here now since 2006, and got going with the Beausejour Comets. I guess just after their first season, the owner decided to make a change with the coaching staff, and it kind of knew who I was, I guess. I had emailed him up just asking him if he needed any help closing the season up once they made the change. And he just basically said he needed a general manager to help run his hockey team. So I kind of said, okay, well, we better come down and discuss this because I don't know what I'm getting myself into here. And, I also run 2 businesses, so life is pretty busy. And after sitting down with him for about 4 hours in our office, really kind of getting a grasp on who he was, who his family was, how he kind of his story on where he came from, and it just struck me as this is somebody that I'd like to get involved. A good person, wealth of experience, and I just thought, man, this would be a great.
Yeah, Kurt, I think the one thing about junior hockey that you're getting to a small community is just like the culture, like how you guys create that, and for you to bring on Troy with the Comets as well with your call. to start implementing, you can put in systems, you can put in like obviously plays, practices, all the X's and O's that we all do in hockey as well. But the real kicker behind every junior team, in my opinion, is just the culture as well. So I thought we'd just talk a little bit about what you guys have done with the culture, change year 1 to year 2. Obviously, massive difference between what you guys got in year 1 to going to the finals against St. Malo this year as well. But just talk a little bit about implementation of what you guys did with culture, recruiting, community, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, from a standpoint of you want to build culture, I think, there's never one answer, because if there was always one answer, everybody would be able to replicate that, right? I think for me is getting involved with good people, surrounding yourself with good people, from an owner to a coach to staff, and then you move on. Of course, you want good kids that are going to buy into what you're trying to sell, and that are going to have good attitudes, and then everything kind of just starts taking on a personality of itself, right? And of course, you need the leadership behind that, right? And from a manager to a head coach, having a guy like Troy as your head coach and saying, hey, this guy's played over 1,000 professional games, and the resume speaks for itself. And, it's easy for those kids to sit back and say, holy cow, like this guy knows what he's talking about, right? So, those are all things that are important.
And Troy, how did you find coming in, your first year with the Comets as well, of what you wanted to implement, where you saw low-hanging fruit, where you saw things where you can integrate, get the kids buy-in is a big thing when you come in as well. It's nice to have a resume that you have coming into hockey, but then you need buy-in from the kids.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I'd coached a few of these kids in minor hockey 5-6 years before, and knew most of them through baseball or through my kids and things like that. So I knew a lot of the characters that there were, and the people that we have in, like Kurt like said it right. We're bringing in people that we know are going to be good people, and they're going to show what we want to show as a group. And by doing that, it only helps to bring in good people as well. You know what I mean? You can really have good people help filter out the bad people or the people you don't want around. So the more good people you have, the more it rubs off, and the more the bad stands out. So I think Kurt did a great job of recruiting good people, and I think we're on the right path to hopefully getting something going here that can sustain for quite a while.
Yeah, I think when you say good people, to me, what I'm left with is, salt of the earth people. Me growing up in Beausejour, George Kowalczyk was my very first coach. And starting from that point there, where I'm 7 years old, I don't know what I'm doing on the ice. I was a 4 back then, but it was really going up the chain of command. Then we had Bruce Liachko as a coach, and then my dad came in to coach, and they had Neil Ross as well. Jason Ross's father was our coach for the Raiders. But every step, we always felt safe. We always felt heard and understood in the dressing room, and they worked as hard, but they were firm but fair. And they taught us life lessons on the ice of, this is what accountability is. This is what respect is. And coming up from a small town like Beausejour, we had our rivals as well, but the foundation of what they gave us as tools, gave us the ability to work hard and go on to outdoor rinks and skate hard and work hard, and yet accountability, because your dad was there and your dad was friends with the coach, for example, and it's a small town, you're 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. But just getting into that culture as well, I want to go back to what you guys did with the dressing room, because one of the things I think it's great in junior hockey is like you look like a pro, you feel like a pro, you play like a pro. And when you can get buy-in with these guys, when you go in there, and adults like yourself in management, leadership, ownership, it really starts from that point there where you're just laying the foundation, bringing in the ability for these kids to come in, see what it is to be like an everydayer. Troy, you play 1,000 games professionally as well. What an everydayer is. You got to show up and do all the small things. But when you come into a room, it's yours. You got a carpet there. You've got a fridge there. You've got a skate sharpening machine there. Your trainers are there. You got your bunk. You got your nameplate. You feel like the part, walking in. So I just thought we'd just cue that up and just kind of walk the guys through the dressing room as well. This is obviously just what you guys started off with. But here's a video here. Let's walk us through this, Kurt.
Yeah, so obviously they had the room built there in the first year. The lockers are, again, it makes you feel like you're in real junior hockey, or you're being treated like a pro. We got a cooler there that's always full of Gatorade from one of our sponsors, and there's Mason, our boss. And then, Troy and I coming in this year, we're like, okay, we need to add some character into this room right off the hop, right? So we put some paint on there to match our team colors, and it just gives it a nicer feel. We got, big, huge Beausejour Comets carpet. Again, it's just giving it a little bit more, room feel, ownership. We put some decking up on the walls, and again, we're just getting started with this thing here, but Troy put in a lot of time earlier in the year. Just, we want our guys to come in and be proud of where they're at and feeling like they're almost in the big leagues, right? And our owner supports that 100%. He's told me many times he wants to have the best junior B franchise in Manitoba, in Canada. And of course, we got a long ways to go, but hey, you got to start somewhere. And we've been able to set some bricks in place to really start building on that. And it's a great little room, great space for them.
Well said. One of the things I think you can start off with is, like, obviously giving the guys their own space. And as an executive in my junior C circuit, I actually really like the fact that the executive never went in the dressing room. And in my case there, I was social media guy, so it was me getting in there, but just leaving that room for the guys, GM, executive, just like coaches, that's their space. We kind of give them that space as well. But I thought, we'd also bring up, mentorship and leadership as well. Troy, you and I had talked off, before the show today about Dean as well. And I thought we could just bring up a picture. We could talk about Jameson as well here in your story about when he was with the Minnesota Wild and what he did with the guys. And I thought it was a really great story if you wanted to share.
Sure. Dean was always one of the guys I looked up to. His dad and my dad worked together up in Thompson, and him and his brother and myself and my brother would always get together and play hockey out in the street. And we kind of followed his career right through. And he went to Spokane in the WHL and Kamloops in the WHL, and ended up as the CHL Player of the Year 1 year, top scorer in the WHL. And when he went to the NHL, he had to adapt and ended up being a third line center. He wasn't a big guy. He's probably 5'10", about 175 pounds. But he adapted, and he ended up being like a third line center, third line forward, and played 16 years, I think, in the NHL, and then got into coaching. And everything everything that comes off him and everything you learn from him is all about team and all about earning your way, and just the person that he is comes off every time you meet him. Just with how strong he is, how strong-minded he is, and what a good person he is, and it just filters its way down. And he's just someone that I really aspired to be, and he was a huge mentor to me. And we see each other every summer. We usually play around the golf every summer and stuff. His mom and my mom used to golf 2 or 3 times every summer, and so they'd always send us selfies from the golf course and things like that. So, but yeah, no, he's a great guy and a great mentor for me, and hope see where he ends up. Hopefully be ending coaching somewhere next year.
And one of the things that you brought up that I thought was very poignant is, him landing in the bottom 6, the third line. And I think it's amazing because whenever I'm down on game day skate, talking to the pros or whoever I'm interviewing on the day or whatever like that, I've always been really present about who the new guys are coming up, where they fit into the bottom 6 or top 6 or top pairing, bottom pairing of defensemen. And it's really, really consistent that you see these guys who have always been the best on every single patch of ice they've ever been to. And then, like you said, then they come to the NHL, and now you're playing with the big boys, and you're in the bottom 6, and it's like pivot. And some of the guys can do it better than the others, and some guys just really can't. And then they start to get into ruts and slumps, and they get into confidence problems, and then they have to stay after the morning skate and get extra time with the coaches, which is almost an embarrassment, to a starter as well when you've been the best wherever you've been. And then you've pivot. So I thought we'd just talk a little bit about, how you guys teach pivoting and what you do for leadership as well, and help mentoring these kids as well. And Kurt, so you want to take that shot?
Yeah, I mean, so I think some of the things, again, I obviously had mentors growing up and coaches that I thought, it's funny, you always try and rank your coaches. That's my favorite coach, my best coach. I think when you're trying to help kids get better, you have to be completely honest with them. If it's not like you're not going to get the power play time, you have to be completely honest with them. This is what you need to work on if you want to get to that point. You might not be getting all the ice time that you want, but you got to keep working. You got to do something to be part of the team. And so, everybody comes up and they've always been successful on the team that they've been playing on. But now you have to bring that into a team concept too, right? You got to figure out how to be a good team player and necessarily not being the top guy or the top minute guy. But, as a coach, as a GM, you have to be completely honest with them with what they need to work on. Some of the things we run into is come playoff time, you have a roster of 25 guys. You can only dress 18 skaters. It's not easy. You're taking away something that they want most, and that's to be dressed to go out with the rest of their team. But it just comes down to, it's a really hard decision to say you're not going out this game or we're not dressing you. But be honest. Here's the reasons why. This is what we're looking at. And, you just ask them that learn how to handle the situation the right way, because it's going to help you later in life with your work, with your professional life. That's going to help you be as professional as possible with our team. It's going to help our team have this that we want. And I always say, like, if you can find a way to contribute one way or the other, and we're all hoisting that cup at the end of the year, I'll guarantee you're going to have a huge smile on your face when it's your turn to hoist that cup. And so you try and just be honest with them on that. And again, it's not always easy. Junior hockey is not always easy for kids to take, because you don't always get to be the best guy or the guy scoring the goals or that. So you're helping them, teach them roles, and there's always an important role for somebody if they're willing to take whatever role they need to take.
I think the way I look at that is, especially when you're dealing with younger kids, they all have different capacities of learning.
Yeah.
2 years difference between a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old is a huge difference for the kid, not only just physically, but also mentally as well. And it's about how we communicate as leadership or executive or in coaching staff to help them understand where they're at and explaining things where they're at, not where we'd like them to be as well. And I think that's a huge thing, a distinction of when you're trying to level with these kids. And I think the biggest thing is just your intention. On our junior C circuit here in Ontario, we start everything with intention. Like our job as coaches or executives is to make you the best player and best person that every parent can get behind. From that point there, everything that we're going to do is with the intention of your betterment as a player and as a human being, connecting you to the community, getting you the support that you need, making you pumping your tires, all these things. This is what we do for you guys. And then I think what you can do is you can really roll that into recruiting. So that way, when you actually have that culture and you have the ability to talk to parents, why would my kid want to come to Beausejour, Manitoba? Like, sell me on recruiting my kid and why he's going to play for Troy Kennedy. And so I think that's one of the things that we come down with as well. But Troy, I'll just throw that question to you as well. Like, on a recruiting standpoint, where do you see what you're looking for in recruiting and how you add value to parents and their families, knowing that they're giving you their kid to play junior hockey?
Well, hopefully, you set a good example by what you put on the ice, for one. And I think one of the biggest things nowadays is your social media. Like, everybody's on social media and stuff. And if you can get the kids to talk good about you and talk good about their experience, I think that's going to go a long way. Like everything's kind of word of mouth right now, the way it is in the world, right? And people want to go to a winner. Everybody wants to go to a winner. And when they hear good things and they hear good things from their friends and their girlfriends' friends, and hey, my aunt and uncle went to the game out there, man, there was 1,000 people. It was awesome. It was so exciting. You guys should have been there. Or they have a nephew or somebody's girlfriend's brother, played in Beausejour, and I played with Troy Kennedy, like he's a really good coach. He treated us fairly. We loved our experience with him. I think all that kind of stuff just goes a long way, as long as you can be consistent with it. And you know what? You're going to hurt people along the way. Over the years, you're going to have kids that, don't like how you do it, things like that. But I think if you're consistent with it and, try and send the message that you want to get across, if you're good about it and you're sending the right message, I think good things will come and it'll get out. We're just word of mouth will get out.
Yeah, well said. I think obviously it helps a lot when you have the community behind you as well. When you've got the fans, you got the media, the paper, the small town. I want to thank Mark Buss as well from the Clipper because obviously in a small town, you're going to get here's some clips from the Clipper, the local newspaper in Beausejour as well. So we want to give him a shout out for sending us these as well and for making sure that you guys get covered as well during the community.
Yeah, they were great this year. They really, really supported us well.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than a kid in the local newspaper looking up on the paper and seeing his name up there and the pictures there and they're in color. And again, look like a pro, feel like a pro, play like a pro as well. So
yeah,
I want to thank Mark as well for that as well. And we thought we transition over to, you mentioned winning team as well. And certainly I don't think a lot of people, to be honest, probably had you guys beating Selkirk this year. But what a huge upset that was, and obviously your goalie Dylan Liskey comes through for you guys. Really rights the ship. Really lets the guys believe that they're able to make this work, which is unbelievable. I'm still kind of searching for how you guys upset a team that only lost 5 games this year as well. So let's go back to community as well. You have your gala as well that you guys had a couple weeks ago as well, just to to end the season as well. Great season. But it takes a community of people, and I don't think anybody really realizes how much work is really behind every single game. There's volunteers there. There are people that give up their time, whether they just be volunteers or coaches or support guys or people who are just super fans as well. And having a team and a franchise back, you get the ability to create new awards, acknowledge people in the community, because again, many hands make light work. So I thought we'd just come up with some pictures as well, walk you guys through this. And I'll keep this nice and slow when Cam starts to roll the pictures. But let's just start it off right now. Kurt, just walk us through these pictures.
Yeah, so we were able to get Ace Burpee, Dave Ace Burpee there. He's on one of the radio stations. Actually grew up in Cooks Creek. Played a little bit for the Comets. His shtick was, I was on the Beausejour Comets, but I didn't feel that I had a place on the team because they would give me 24 or 26, whatever number was available. So I kind of was like, okay, we're going to do this right. We're going to do this awards gala right. So I ended up ordering some jerseys, got a number on the jersey for our 3 keynotes and as well as our MC Ace Burpee here. And so I was just presenting him the jersey. He didn't realize that we had a jersey for him as well, because we presented the jerseys to the other guys first. And I said, hold on, buddy, we got one more here. And I said, look at this, Ace, you have your own number. You were a Beausejour Comet. You are a Beausejour Comet, and you'll always be a Beausejour Comet. And he was just floored. He was absolutely floored that we did that for him, and he put it on right away. And I mean, so we presented that, and he wore the thing the rest of the night. And then he's an MC, probably the best in the province without a doubt to MC events. And not only that, but probably across Canada, he's one of the guys that'll do an event A+. And so we were lucky to get him, and he came on board, and it was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, it was such a cool moment, and still texting back and forth, just saying how cool it was for him to be able to have that. And so it was kind of that.
Troy, you want to take this one?
Which one's this one? This looks like the best defenseman award, I think, the Dane Litke Award. So this was Riley Tershman. He was, I think he was second in the league in scoring for defensemen. Very offensive defenseman. Tends to stay up there a little bit long sometimes, but that's part of being an offensive defenseman, right? And that's our coaching staff around it. As you can see, we got a couple. The one on the far left is Aiden Tickner. He was the captain of the team last year. And then another kid was played in Stonewall last year, and they're all local kids. So it's great to get the young guys on board with the coaching as well.
I think it's really amazing that you actually chose, of all the people that you could choose for this award, Dane Litkey's, I grew up with Dane. We were in the same grade. Dane excelled at everything that he did, whether he was running cross country with us or playing hockey. He was actually a forward when we were kids, and then he went back on defense because we needed him back there. And then he just stayed back there, and then he played up a year with Jody Wilgosh and Rick Liskey and all the rest of the guys as well. But I mean, again, going back from when you're a 12-year-old to play with a 13-year-old, there's a huge difference in that 1 year, just alone. But Dane was one of the guys who could just transition. Obviously, he went down to North Dakota, won a national championship as well. But amazing that you guys named this award after Dane Litkey as well. So let's go with the next picture as well. What are we seeing here?
This is our. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rammer.
Yeah, this is this plaque was donated to us by Mark Buss, who had run the senior team there for a number of years, the Beausejour Beavers, and they had never had a chance to use this plaque just because the team ceased operation there. But one of the guys that was always around whatever hockey team was playing in Beausejour at the time was Kevin Boulay, had the nickname Goot, and
Goot.
I was fortunate enough to know Goot for a long time when I first came to town playing for the Stars, and so they had this as a volunteer award, and Mark had brought it back by and asked if we would be willing to use it, and I said absolutely. So our super volunteer that we had this year that helped made things run so smoothly was Tracy Owasco, and her name was the first one to go on the plaque. But anybody who knew Goot knew that he just absolutely loved sports. And if there was a game to be played, even if he didn't have a ride, he'd jump out on the highway and be trying to hitchhike a ride to whatever game if he missed the bus or whatever. But yeah, he was absolutely a staple in Beausejour for being around hockey games and whatever else he could be. It's just amazing that we could carry forward traditions like this and have an award remembering Kevin.
Yeah, I think one of the things that when I ever hear the word Goot, it always comes from Barry Weidman, because Barry Weidman, he's the only guy in Beausejour I know who's probably the unofficial mayor of Beausejour. But like how he says Goot with the T on it just like always makes me laugh as well. And again, like we need these volunteers as well. I say we live on a starvation diet of acknowledgement, and people like Tracy and like obviously Wayne, who I grew up as well. Within school, he was a year older than I was as well. But to have these people as your cornerstone and volunteers, and helping support the executive, the ownership, and the athletes as well, really falls under the radar to anyone who really knows anything about operations in junior hockey. But it's certainly not lost to us as well. So just want to throw a really big thank you to Tracy as well. So Troy, you want to take us this one here?
I think this is the playoff MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Playoff MVP one. Obviously, this is our goaltender, Dylan Liskey. He was pretty incredible. He got the net to start the playoffs. He won it during the regular season, and we had meetings with our goalies all year, 3 or 4 times, and just told them they're going to have their play down during the season. Whoever won the battle during the season will start the playoffs, and if you give up the net, then you might lose it to the next guy. But Dylan won the net and never gave it up. So it's good for him to. It's always good in the playoffs to have a good goaltending, right, and be able to play and not have to worry too much about making a few mistakes, and he'll cover up for you. So it was great to see.
As a local guy as well, it's obviously adds so much more to the story of like having your MVP and playoffs coming through for you, being a local boy, local raised, as well as Los Angeles, which obviously helps me live in Beausejour as well, because Ronnie's.
Well, you mentioned Uncle Rick. You mentioned Uncle Rick a little bit earlier. That's his uncle, yeah. So
yeah, and Rick and Dallas and Lonnie, obviously 3 Liskey brothers.
Yeah,
Lonnie's actually the principal of Edward Schreier, where I went to school now. And I just have a massive amount of respect for that man. His son Brick's coming up right now. He's got his first full year going to be with the Everett Silvertips as well. But Lonnie just gets it as an educator. And I think, just putting that into his students as well. Hopefully you're going to have, Lonnie working for you guys in the school, working on character as well, to bring that to the ice is, an amazing ally to have that in the junior hockey club when you have, a principal who's went through that whole process. And obviously, Kurt, you knew Lonnie back in Dauphin as well. Lonnie had a really funny story about being traded from Winkler. Here he was, Winkler. And, this is years ago. He was telling me the story about getting traded, and he called Jerry, his dad, and just said, I've been traded. And he was like, he had his, his pride was hurt. And Jerry didn't have anything of it. And Jerry's just like, you get your ass up there and shoot up those guys, and you play your ass off for the guys. And that's what leadership is. This is life. You get used to this. And again, like sometimes, you're 18 years old, 19 years old. You want to lick your wounds for a little bit. But again, life hits you pretty hard sometimes, unless you've got a little bit of pushback on life. You need that kick in the ass, I think, to get you out there, bring you back in your comfort zone once you're out, in and out. That's how growth is done. But I thought it was a great story that, Lonnie shared with me as well. And if he didn't get traded, Kurt, you don't know him.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. I may never have landed in Beausejour.
Walk us through this one.
So the gentleman holding the trophy there, the older gentleman, Bob Carmichael, he was in the Comets 1.0, pretty much did everything from volunteering to selling tickets to printing hats, and you name it, he did everything under the sun. So we thought it would be fitting to name an award after Bob, and this was the Comet Award. We named it. So, a kid that is a good team guy, has good character, is easy to coach. There's a whole lot of characteristics that come along with this award, and we thought, what better award to attach a name as Bob Carmichael. So we named it the Bob Carmichael Comet Award, and Merrick Huckle, Winnipeg boy, ended up winning this. But Merrick played on the team last year, and he just he wasn't able to get there early on in the year because he was working out of town, and but he was always great at communicating. Hey, I can get to practice this week. I won't be able to make it, but once he got laid off and for the winter, he was there all the time, and he was just wasn't necessarily the most vocal leader, but when things kind of started hitting the fan, sometimes he'd stand up and just say, relax, let's stay with it. We sucked last year. Let's it's not the worst thing in the world. And he was really key that way and helping us grow over the course of the season. And then, as he kind of got, in shape a little bit more and things started happening a little bit easier for him, he became a super important player for us, just a full 200-foot player. And, it was a key piece in us making our run at the end of the year there, but just a good kid all the way around. And you got quite the liking to Beausejour, all the socials that we have out here. He was always a guy that was partaking in that. Not only that, but when minor hockey teams, we'd send guys to go be part of their practice or the parade, walking and talking to all the kids and high-fiving them, and just was so ingrained in the community as an outsider, so to speak, but really ingrained himself to be a Beausejour Comet, a resident of Beausejour. He just really embraced being out here as a Winnipegger, just embraced being a Beausejour kid.
Before we go to the next picture, I just thought we'd just segue with this because I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when you told Bob that you're naming a trophy after him as well, because he was just involved for 50 years in Beausejour minor hockey all the way through into junior as well. And you don't expect that when you get the call. You didn't do it for the award, you didn't do it for the validation or the acknowledgement, but when you get it, it almost brings a grown man to tears as well. I mean, I had a wonderful man in my life in Beausejour, Henry Kazina, who was our vice principal at Edward Schreier, that just saw the good inside of me before I could see the good inside of me. And, people like that in the community, when you name awards after them, it really creates a ripple effect. And that's exactly what you guys are doing here with the Comets as well. So I just thought I'd just give you guys a big up for that, because that's these things here really hit you in the feels. And obviously I know Bob as well growing up there as well, but good for you for creating these awards, because, they're going to outlast, us, as far as we live. But at the same time, that legacy will always go on. So Cam, next picture. You want to grab this one, Troy?
Sure. Which one's this one, Kurt?
That's the inspirational, voted by the
most
players.
Inspirational, right? This is probably the one that means the most to a player. when your fellow players vote for it. So this was voted on by all the rest of the players as the most inspirational player. And there was 3 or 4 guys that had a lot of votes, and they decided on Dylan Liskey, the goalie. Obviously, goalies don't wear A's, C's or A's on their jersey, but anybody who came in our room or was around our team could see the leadership that he exhumed in the dressing room and around the guys, and how much the guys really respected, what he was there for, and his commitment to the team. So I think it was a great thing for him, just seeing how everybody respected him as a goalie and as a person.
Well, as a goalie, I'm glad that you guys picked the goalie, because I get some skin in the game as well. But I mean, obviously, you had a great year as well. Kurt?
Yeah, so this was part of our evening. We had some keynote speakers. Of course, we got Ace on the far right there as our MC, and he kind of we just did basically a round table with our keynotes instead of having them kind of stand up and kind of tell their story. So right next to Ace Burpee there, we have former NHLer Dale Weiss. He's got over 500 games played in the NHL, and he was like, absolutely, I'll come to your event. And then next to him, we had Adam Bighill, a surefire CFL Hall of Famer, middle linebacker for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Was, again, just awesome coming out and doing our chat with us, and loved every minute of it. And next to him was one of the best receivers in the CFL, Kenny Lawler, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers there, came out. And these guys were out during the day doing a football camp here for a lot of kids that day.
Awesome.
And so just through our local sponsor, we reached out to them, and they were so happy to come out and do it. And I mean, they were just so brutally honest with some of their answers that Ace was asking them, and small town guys too, right? Like, they understand the importance and the power of them coming. And, there wasn't a whole lot of little small youth kids at this event, but our guys were there, and just hearing our guys tell their story. I had one of the dads come up and ask me, like, did you guys have any input on what the questions that Ace was going to ask them? I said, no, absolutely not. Like, this was Ace's thing. He led the whole interview and stuff. But the answers that they were giving to some of the, like, what was important to you growing up, and how you practiced, and the efforts that you gave. And some of their answers were things that we had been talking to our guys about all year long. And it was funny because the dad was like, yeah, me and Riley, we have some conversations about what you guys talk about in the room. And he goes, the conversations that Riley was telling me was all the conversations and the things that these guys were telling, and the answers that were in their answers. And I said, well, but that's kind of the experience that we've had, myself, growing up playing for guys that had played in the NHL, or Troy playing with guys in the NHL, being a draft pick. Like, these are all consistent answers of what it takes to be successful in not only individually, but as teammates. And, Dale was sitting there. He didn't win a Stanley Cup or anything, but he goes, me sitting beside the Kenny Lawler and Adam Bighill, hearing their answers and the way they talk about their teammates and how selfless they are for, success and individual success, but putting it aside to go and be successful as a team. He goes, I know why these guys have been to 4 straight Grey Cups, and they talk about their coaches the way they do. And he goes, it's not always like that. Like, the teams that I was on in the NHL weren't always like that. So he was learning as he went along, and it was really cool to hear their answers. So they were unbelievable. They laid it all out there with all the honesty.
And again, like, at the end of the season as well, it doesn't go the way we want it to go, just like life.
Yeah.
Life doesn't, you got one winner, and not everyone can do that. And like, you've got a whole host of people who are losers, we'll call air quotations, because we don't want to get canceled for hurting people's feelings these days.
No, you can't do that.
But at the same time, like, there's one winner, and like, but the thing is, like, Game 6 comes, you end up losing St. Malo. You come back to your guys, you know what? Listen, this is a really great lesson for all of us here. Like, you played your hardest and you came up short. However, just like life, it's how we respond back to this with class, respect, and ability to, like, wish our victors well in their moment of triumph, because we would like the same thing done to us if we were the one next year to do this as well. And we're going to create a brand of culture here in Beausejour that we're going to win well and we're going to lose well. And then we're going to come off this ice. And then if we can come back and we can have our gala, and, kudos to you guys for really going above the call of duty to put these people in front of, your gala as well, for your volunteers and fans and players and parents. Because again, that's culture. That's what you're going to see in buy-in, and why people say, hey, listen, why am I coming to Beausejour, Manitoba to play my junior hockey? Sell me on this. And then you see something like that and you're like, yeah, like every single parent can get behind something like that. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, the support we've had, the messages that are sent, the way people responded to the team all year, and just to see people in the rink that hadn't been in the arena for the last 10 years, and see them come in and have a few beers and watch a hockey game and cheer and talk about, anywhere you went in town for the 3 weeks of the playoffs or 4 weeks of the playoffs, everybody was talking about it. Hey, going to the game on Friday? You going to the game Friday? Hey, how did they do? We had the sponsors putting it up on their TV screens in their restaurant so people could watch it. It was awesome. It was absolutely incredible, and just to see it bring the community together. It felt like the old times. It felt like when you were a kid, and you had the senior hockey team playing, like Lac de Bonnie or something, and the big rivalry was there. It just felt like that kind of excitement again, which was incredible, and that goes a long way.
And I think honestly, like as human beings, you're coming out of winter. Winters are different in Manitoba than they are in Ontario as well, and God knows I've experienced both of them. But when playoff hockey hits and you start winning, and I always have this saying, winning's the best fundraising. And you win the first round, you win the second round, which is an upset as well. You get your home games in, which is amazing, because now you got 50-50s and you've got, your gate and your beer sales, and all that money goes into the system where you can actually take that money and then replicate it, put it back in, and then create next year from this year as well. But again, you have the community come out, like you say, you've seen people you haven't seen in 10 years. But where I'm going with this is that you get the people connected to something in their youth, or how it used to be for them, or that they can escape their tax dwindled life from that one day, or their kids, and they can escape for 2 or 3 hours and go back to the rink where they grew up, smell that smell in their nostrils, get out there, cheer for their team, have a little reprise from their life and whatever they're dealing with right away, and just get on board and just live like a kid again. And I think this is what junior hockey and minor hockey is really all about. So, kudos to you guys for doing that as well. I think that's great that Beausejour has got a junior team back again. Kurt, last thought on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's when I showed up in Beausejour, I always heard the Beausejour Comet stories. I wasn't around for those days. I heard about the Comets. There's always been a love affair with the Beausejour Comets, and that's kind of another thing that wanted me make me get involved in this, because I knew it was there. I knew the love was there. And, obviously we were able to tap into it, but, again, just from the gala, the playoffs, this kind of stuff, having you, being a former community member and a Beausejour Comet is like, this is how we recruit, because everybody sees what we're doing. They see how you're doing it. They're at the level you're doing it. You're trying to create the best player experience. There's other teams, lots of teams out here for kids to go play. But if they're seeing this, that's half their recruiting battle, right? They want to come and they want to feel like they're playing in the big leagues. And that's what we're trying to do here. And not only that, for the player standpoint, we're trying to create the best fan experience, get those people back into the arena, just socializing, after COVID, just socializing, seeing their friends, having that beer, reminiscing. I mean, that's how I grew up, small town living. And the community centers are always, this is a Todd Krebs quote, the community center is always the heartbeat of a community, of a small town community. The arena, they're always the heartbeat. And man, it was incredible. It was an incredible feeling knowing that we were just a small part of that, creating that. And we can't wait to get going on next year.
Yeah, and obviously we're in May right now. We're gonna like take our summertime off and just recalibrate a little bit because it's a long season, and as we get older, we got less energy than more energy, and I can't believe that my ego still thinks I'm 25 and I can still do the shit I was doing back when I was 25. My body says no, you cannot be doing this stuff when you're 25 as well. But before we go, I wanted to talk a little bit about Troy. You and I were talking about this before we got on the podcast, but about the word respect. And obviously, it's not just something that you have in hockey as well. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about your brother, Sheldon, and his respect group as well, where this came from. I've said this on my show a dozen times that Sheldon is one of my most favorite people in life because there's some people that can go through trauma, and it's anything that they can do just to escape that trauma. And then there's people who go through trauma and can heal. And obviously Sheldon's on that. Then there's people like Sheldon Kennedy who can go through the trauma, heal themselves, and then reach out and use their story to inspire others that there's hope and that there's a respect level out there and a safe place for everybody else to get their lives back as well. And when I was with Sheldon with the Battle of the Blades, when he and Caitlin won, I had a new level of respect for this man. He has the respect group here. I'm going to leave the link up here for everyone to go on there. The banner's down there for people to go and check out Sheldon's podcast and his platform as well. But Troy, I just thought I'd just give you the last word about your brother Sheldon and his respect group and your journey together.
Yeah, it's something you couldn't be prouder of. At the same time, it's something that you how it happened and how it came about was very tough, for a family, and took a long time to get through. And to be honest with you, for me, not even understand still, as an older brother, because we haven't had that tight, that conversation about it. We kind of were there. I was there with them the whole time it was going on, but had no idea.
Yeah.
But the amount that people can talk about it and how open it is now, and the things that we have in place to not have it happen anymore, because of what he's done and because of how he's brought the voice out and given people the voice to come out and share with what happened and not be scared to talk about it is incredible. I mean, the things he's done since he got over his demons, which are always hard to get over as well. And he's gone through his fair share. But for him to keep going and to get that message out there, to keep pushing it, is something that's incredible and needed around the world. And I think every single person's seen the change and seen how much easier it is now than in the past. And it's actually comfortable to talk about it now, and you can kind of see the things that are happening, right? Like when we first started, Graham James recruited both of us. There was no WHL draft back then. It was you just got added to a list. So my brother and I were both on the Brandon Wheat Kings list at 13 and 14. I got a call one day. Yeah, it's Graham James from the Winnipeg Warriors. We just traded for both of you guys. Oh, wow. Okay, right on. So we kind of started our journey together, right? We both went to Moose Jaw together, but we got put in separate billets, right, to keep us apart. Graham brought us to Moose Jaw with him, but we never stayed together. Now we know why.
Yeah.
So there's things that we look back on during our time and now understand why they happened. But now what he's done over the last 25 years, 30 years is just incredible. And it's just going to keep going, and people are just going to hopefully keep the respect group up. I think they've sold it now. The respect group, I think they're mentoring the new people that are going to come on and look after it. But I think they're going to keep on the same message. And I know I just got an invite to go and open his, there's a big Sheldon Kennedy Foundation center in Calgary, I think, that's just opening in May, having the grand opening. So I'm going to head out there at the end of the May and see that. But yeah, he's done a great thing.
Yeah, there's always this horrible thought in your head of like, why did this happen? Which is just an unanswerable question.
It is, yeah.
and it's the wrong question to ask because it doesn't have an answer, and it never will have an answer.
Mhm.
And I think part of the healing process that gets involved with this is like when you take someone, and I use the word hero, because Sheldon to me is that person where he can take his own platform and truly use something traumatic and horrific in your life to help others have hope moving forward, who have gone through the exact same thing, who feel isolated, who feel lonely. And there's that pattern of addiction, which follows that with guilt, humiliation, and shame, the very bottom resignation of a human being, where you're stuck in that downward spiral. And what we're saying is that there's people out there that will listen to you. There's people out there that want to help you. There's people that want to give you the ability to, get a hand up if you need that. And if you need help in that moment, I really, really urge everybody just to reach out to somebody that you love. And if you can't be that person, you know somebody who you can refer that conversation off to. I'm not a mental health professional, but I'm an advocate, and we can find you help because you're worthy for it. And we really believe that everybody has the ability to feel heard, understood, and respected in life. And I just tip my hat off to Sheldon for making something that's so horrific have a silver lining of it, which now gives hope to other people as well. So we want to thank Sheldon for that as well. We'll leave the link up here on the post as well. Before we go, I thought we'd segue to our sponsor, Padskins, which wants to donate their package to you guys as well. I always said from the start of the show that you have look like a pro, feel like a pro, play like a pro. There's your name bars on the right-hand side. Your goalie pads could look like this as comments. So you're going to start with your whites. And I want to thank Mark from Padskins for donating this next year. You guys are going to give us a list of your players' names and their numbers. And then we are going to send you these name bars that just peel and stick. And this is what we did for the Hershey Cubs. That's Beausejour. Gabby is his nickname as well. So we sent this down to Hershey, which is the sweetest place on earth as well. But again, giving these guys a little bit of identity, feeling like a pro. I was just in Philadelphia for the alumni game, and I had these name bars printed up for the Flyers alumni, and we got to talk with Mark Howe, who didn't have a name bar on his gloves, and I thought it was amazing to look on his face as a Pro Hall of Famer, son of Gordie Howe, when he saw Howe on his gloves again for the first time in years. So I thought that was great. But this is one of the things I think that are small things that help create culture as well. And then if your minor hockey association wants to do the exact same thing, we can work that out with Padskins as well. But I want to thank Padskins for doing that. Goalies also have their buckets rather than spending $1,000 for a paint job. There's cage skins as well, where we can get the guys buckets that look like this, and then they can come out. I think this is $100 for goalies to have their buckets look like this and hockey's already an expensive sport, and we don't want to make hockey more expensive, especially as a goalie, to you goalie parents, which I feel sorry for you for, because sticks are $3.50 a stick now, when they were $20 when I was growing up. But again, you can get better value for your cage skins at every budget as well. So we thought we'd send that off to you guys as well for next year. And before we go, I thought we just one quick from you guys back of what you expect next year, what you're looking forward to, what you're going to play on. Kurt, you're up.
You know what? So, next year, obviously, going through year one, we've put a few bricks down, and we're just going to continue to add. Are we content? Not at all. We want to win league championships, and we want to win lots of them, and we want to create a dynasty here in Beausejour. We have the community to do it. We have the support. Troy and I, I think we have the ability to bring the guys in that we need to, but we're just going to keep building on what we have, keep treating hockey players and kids the right way, and just trying to keep recruiting and get at her for next year. Bigger, better. Yeah, that's kind of where we're headed. So,
Coach Kennedy, you're up.
Yeah, it's same as Rammer said. We want to have a dynasty here. We want to take over from the Fishermen and let them kind of take a back seat for the next bunch of years. So we had a really good camp with a bunch of young guys that were in high school and things like that. And we had a great AP group coming up. We had a few kids AP in the playoffs that are hopefully going to come play with us next year. And so as long as we can keep that excitement around town and in the community, I think we're going to be very, very strong going forward.
Yeah, awesome. And you know what? If you guys next year can tolerate me, I'll make a trip back to Beausejour. It's been probably 10 years since I've been back home. And would love to catch up with you guys over a beer, watching the team play. Todd Krebs will probably be a negative influence on me when I get to the arena as well. And of course, enforce my rubber arm to have a few drinks with them as well. It'll be good to see the usual suspects when I get back into town and share that with the hockey crowd as well. So before we go, I just want to thank you both for being on the show. Thank you very much for your commitment to Beausejour Comets. And you could be doing 1,000 other things with your time and your resources. And I just want to thank you for taking the time out to spend that time in the community with the Comets, mentor these young kids, be able to create leadership as well, because you're not just creating a hockey team, you're creating memories for the rest of the lives of these kids that they're moving forward as well. And that will outlive all of our legacies as well here. And if you can be remembered for something as sweet as that, I think that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Thanks. Just thanks for reaching out to us, Chuck. It's invaluable to have people like yourself kind of want to contribute to our program. And obviously things like this are absolutely huge at getting it out there, not only for the Beausejour Comets, but for the CRJHL league in itself. But yeah, thank you so much. We'd love to have you. I'm sure Toddy would get you up having a few cold ones at the beer barn there in the Sun Girl Center. And we'd absolutely love to have you and entertain you for a couple games.
You got it.
Thanks very much, Chuck. Yeah, it means a lot. Number 35 will be remembered.
Yeah. All right. That's what you're telling me is well. Okay, guys, we'll let you get going, but thanks a lot for joining us on the show. To be continued, we'll have these guys back next year as well. That's Troy Kennedy, Kurt Ramsden as well from the Beausejour Comets. Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Chuck.
And that's our show today. We're going to bring up our amazing producer, Cam LaRock, and have his thoughts on memories that were 10 years before Cameron was even born.
Yeah, Chuck, I'm glad to hear that Beausejour got their team back, especially with like just all the memories that are being unfolded today with you and the guys here, and seeing that, I forget his name, but that older gentleman, and that he was involved with the minor hockey. He was involved with minor hockey forever, and yeah, I'm glad that a community like that, it's similar to the one that I come from, less than 3,000 people. You rely on your team for something to do a lot of the time, right? And one thing that I'm finding as like a young adult now is like the life cycle that goes along with your like junior hockey teams in your small communities. You start off as a kid and you're all pumped and you think it's the NHL being at these games, and then in the intermissions you're running outside playing in the snow, and then when you're a teenager you're running across the road to Tim Hortons or whatever. And then as an adult, you're, going outside for a beer with your buddies, and it just seems like a never-ending cycle. I'm one of the guys in the parking lot now, but I remember being a little kid in the snow too. So I'm glad that Beausejour has their team back for those kids and everyone else in that community.
Yeah, one of the things we didn't actually really mention much on the podcast that we will throw in some links for is just the value of sponsorship as well. So, I mean, if you're watching this right now and you want to get involved with the Beausejour Comets next year or the year after that, on a sponsorship level, we'll leave the links as well for you can reach out to the team as well. And not just sponsorship in side of a financial side. It's also a time side. There's, like I said, it takes a lot of work to make game day every single day that they play. So if you can only volunteer, but you can't donate money, your time is just as valuable in roles that you'll never understand as well. Money as well helps, but as well, like using your brand to connect to hockey inside of junior hockey for sure is something that always helps. I always say that we're always connected as Canadians to the vehicle of hockey. So if you can use your brand and to advance that, whether it be social media, whether it be on board signs or jersey sponsors, or just good old fashioned donation, or helping, dress up the dressing room and make it a little bit more customized as well. I'm sure there's 1,000 ways they can spend your tax to $1, but I think what you're doing with that is you're investing that in your community as well with your leadership. Everybody there is pretty much a volunteer at that level. Certainly if they're getting paid, they're getting paid Peace Corps wages. But it's really just all about the kids as well. So if you want to have sponsorship opportunities as well, I think I'm going to applaud you for doing that as well, because that's what makes junior hockey really roll. Is it wouldn't be possible without obviously the manpower hours, but also the sponsors, which are everything for a franchise as well. So with that, I want to thank our sponsors as well, Padskins and Holy Chuck Burger. and our good friends over at Mixed Chicks, because they make hair like this happen. I always say there's no such thing as bad boys. There's just boys with bad hair. And that's not just a real thing. That's a hashtag true story is what that is.
Yeah, I didn't want to be one of those bad boys with bad hair, so I just decided no hair is the best way to go.
Giving you a pass. I was giving you a pass because Cam thought it'd be a great idea to cut his hair off. The good news is he's young. He doesn't have a receding hairline just yet, so this hair will grow back. But like I said, guys, always, we love lettuce. We love flow. Make sure you're growing that stuff out as well. You need product. You need to be able to make it look nice and silky as well. Unlike Cameron, who just learned a very valuable lesson of what not to do in hockey culture, grow the lettuce. It looks
Hey,
sweet.
it's the off season, so I can get away with it, right? I would never do this in playoffs or something like that. I waited until the season was over.
Yeah, the guys would make a really big lesson out of you. You don't want to do that as well.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for coming onto the show today, for viewing this, for the Beausejour Comets as well. Realize you could have spent your time anywhere you wanted to as well. Really want to thank you for taking the hour and a bit to sit with us on Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo as well. Again, thanks out to our sponsors and to Troy and to Curtis for joining us for the Beausejour Comets. And we will see you next time.